Hi students, this is Mr. Ballantyne, your accounting teacher, and today we're going to dive into some company accounts from the 2016 CSEC Accounting past papers. So let's dive right into it. This is a question that was taken from the 2016 CSEC Principles of Accounting exam. It's a wonderful question to help you in practicing your company accounts. Intergalactic Voyages is a limited company, the question says, and on 1st April 2015, you were provided with the following information. The question is asking you to use the form that is provided. If you look on the right hand side of the screen, you'll see a form. This is a form for you to fill in the journal entries to record issue of shares as well as to record the issue of debentures. Always bear in mind that debentures represent loans. So when we are dealing with debentures, we know for sure that they are a liability. So keep that in mind. Debentures is the same as a loan. And this is a liability. And what do we do with liabilities? When liabilities increase, we credit the liability account. In this case, we have an increase in liability because debentures were issued. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put the journal entries. A few brief calculations to be done. One thing that you need to note is there's a difference between authorized as well as issued. There's a difference between authorized share capital and issued share capital. For the purposes of journal entries, we are only concerned with issued share capital. There are two types here, ordinary and preference. We have 300,000 ordinary shares, is what this question is saying. 300,000 ordinary shares were issued while they were authorized to issue 500,000 ordinary shares. But that is not part of our calculation, the authorized. We are dealing with issued. So first of all, we need to calculate what our ordinary share capital will be, because that is one of the accounts that will be affected. We are dealing with ordinary shares first. And these are the figures that are relevant to us. So for ordinary share capital, our dollar figure is always at par value. So it is 300,000 shares multiplied by our par value. How do we find our par value figure? We look at the authorized share capital. And here we are told that it is authorized to issue at $1 each. So it means that they actually issued at what we call a premium, but it is the dollar that we're concerned about here. So this gives us a dollar value of $300,000. But there's an extra 50 cents to account for. So while they're supposed to be issuing shares at $1 each, dollar being the par value, they actually issued at $1.50. That extra 50 cents is what we refer to as share premium. And this is another account we have to take into consideration. So the share premium is 300,000 shares. This is how it's calculated, multiply by that 50 cents. Share premium is, remember, share premium is the difference between the par value and the issue price of a share. So in this case, this is $150,000. So there we go. We have two accounts already for our ordinary shares. We need our third account, and this is cash. How much is our cash? Is the total amount of money we make from the issuing of these shares. We issued 300,000 shares and we multiply that by our issue price, and that gives us $450,000. So having done that, we are ready. We are ready to record our first entry. Okay, so we head over here and let's put that in one time. Okay, so it's the 1st of the 4th. We are debiting. Always remember that we are debiting cash since we are receiving cash. and the amount is $450,000. We are going to credit our two capital related accounts, capital and reserve accounts. In this case is ordinary share capital, and the amount we pick up there is 300,000. Remember, this is always recorded at par value. And we have our share premium. And that amount we calculated to be 150,000. Always remember that when you're doing a journal entry, your debits, the total of your debits must equal the total of your credits. And this is exactly what we have here. You will want to put a little narration to record, and this is just an example, to record the issue of ordinary shares. Okay. Our next journal entry is related to the preference shares. Now, what are we focusing on when we deal with the preference shares? Remember, we're not focusing too much on the authorized share capital, but we are dealing with the issued share capital. So we take the same steps, same process as we did with the ordinary share capital, and we're going to record the journal entries. This can be quickly calculated. So let's turn our attention to the preference shares. Remember that we're going to focus specifically on issued share capital. At this point, we had 100,000 8% preference shares issued at a price of that should be $2.50. So let's calculate our preference shares. 8% preference shares. Always remember that these share capital amounts are always at par. So you check to see what is the par value of the share. That's 100,000 shares at $2.50. Yes. And that gives you a total of $250,000. There isn't any premium in this case. The next account that is affected is the cash, because we are issuing the shares to preference shareholders and in return we receive cash. The cash is the total amount that we receive, which is the same calculation, $100,000 multiplied by the issue price. Now let's put this into our general journal. We are going to debit cash once more. And the amount for cash is $250. And we're going to credit that 8% preference shares, preference share capital, with $250,000. Okay, so we can do a little narration to record. Once again, your narrations can be anything that reflects the nature of the transaction. So to record issue of preference shares. Okay, now let's deal with our debentures. Debenture is pretty straightforward. In this case, we are dealing with a loan. And when we are dealing with a loan, we know we are going to credit the loan account because it is actually increasing, but we are receiving cash, which is an asset. So let's go straight to this one time. Cash is debited, and we are going to credit debentures. That's 6% debentures. What is the amount? It is $400,000. Okay, so here we have our journal entries being recorded. We of course put a little narration. Sometimes a question may ask you for a narration. This one didn't ask, but we'll do it at least for practice to record issue of debentures. All right, So this was for 9 marks. Hopefully you get all of that 9 marks allocated to this question.